Hey guys, this is Dave Darren here. I'm not sure if you can. I get this. I'll tell you, YouTube and Facebook lately have been a real nightmare. I don't know if you guys can even hear me. If you can hear me, that's going to be unusual because you can't see me. I'm going to type here. Let's see. Can you guys hear me? I don't think you can see me, or maybe you can. I get on my screen here. An error occurred. Please try again later. Playback ID WS_5HYMJAM_D0YID. So let's see, Brian, can you actually hear me? Or I don't think you can see me, or maybe you can do both. I'm getting this strange thing here. I hear you. So you hear me. Can you actually see me? Can you guys see me? Or actually you would see a screen that says this week's radio review. Do you see a screen? Do you see any video at all? I guess I can pop it up on my cell phone to see if you can see me. That's what I'll do. I'll pop it up on my cell phone and I will see if I can hear, not see. There we go. So, okay, so we'll just go with the volume today. We'll just go with the video. We'll bag the video. I'll tell you something. I don't know what it is, but it seems like Facebook and YouTube are having a real mess of a problem in the last couple weeks. And it's maybe like when we're in IT, because like I said, I'm in IT or I'm in technology. At the end of the year, we have what's called a code freeze. So no one's supposed to change anything at the end of the year because if anything breaks, there's no one there to fix it. Everyone's actually on vacation or taking extra days off. So you're supposed to not do things during this time period. But if you do things and then you can't fix it because no one's there to fix it, you get things like this. So like I said, Facebook messed up. Last night I had trouble with YouTube. That's why the show started a couple minutes late, actually 3 minutes late, on a show that was actually 30 minutes in length. So that was a disaster. And then here I'm on YouTube and I'm getting, it enabled me to hit the start. And then it says an error occurred, please try again later. See, when it says please try again later, it means it's not my error, it's their error. So what a mess, what a nightmare of technologies. And we survive our daily jobs and our daily lives using so much technology. It is. I wish you could see me because I'm frustrated here with the technology. You know, we buy all these cars that have all this technology. And my wife's got a brand new car. All my cars are from the 70s and the 80s because I don't like all of the technology in the cars, because it's more of an issue to break. So yeah, I want to talk about the show, but I will talk about this since it just dawned on me today with the technology failure. Here's what goes on. For instance, I had a car that was stuck in the parking lot. YouTube, yeah, Ren says YouTube sucks too. It certainly does. We got, I think that we are trying to put technology out there before it's actually mastered and ready to be out there. And here's a situation. For instance, my wife and I bought this Maytag washing machine and dryer. And it was one of those front load ones. The ones that you go to the laundromat and you have the front load machines. So we bought one. It was one of the first ones you can get front load. Now everything is all front load. So we bought one and we had it home for about a month. And then it started to build up mold and mildew on the bottom part of it. So we called up Maytag and the guy came here and he fixed it. And you know what he told us? He said, you know what? Maytag knew this problem existed. We've got a fix for it, but they wanted to rush it out to the public to beat their competition with the first front load, privately owned residential washing machine. So they delivered it to people where it actually built up mold and mildew at the very bottom accumulator. And you can see it was turning a little bit green. So you're washing clothes for a month with mold and mildew that got into your clothing just so they could rush a product to market to beat the competition, knowing that they would retroactively have to fix the problem, and they did. But see, that's what goes on here with technologies. They put things out too quickly, and they rush it to market when it's not really ready to be rushed to market. It's a real pain in the butt. So that's what goes. And then, the other thing is with cars. Here's a situation. So I've got a 76 Trans Am in my garage. First car I ever bought. I still have my very first car that I bought, and it's sitting in my garage now from 1976, right? So we did have a regular vehicle with the the kiosk on the key. So you press a button, you get in the car, and then you can it was actually a car that was not the push to start. It was a key, and you put it in the ignition, and the key actually has a chip in it. So it's got a transmitting chip, and inside the vehicle there's a receiving product, so you can start your car based upon the car recognizing the key, based upon the transmit and receive, right? So here's what happened. The car, I'm in the parking lot at a coffee shop. Car won't start. I get in the car, it won't start. So I had to have the car towed to my mechanic. And my mechanic did not have all of the stuff to test out. We had an older BMW. I think it was like a 2006 or something like that. So he could figure out that it wasn't the starter, and it wasn't any fuel issue going on with fuel injection or anything. So I had to have it then towed to BMW, and then BMW had to run through the test that he did, because they couldn't take his test as being conclusive. They had to rerun his test and charge me a second time. Then they found out it was the key. The transmit in the key wasn't working, so they had to give me a new key, which was $250 plus programming the key, which was another $100. So it ended up being 2 towings of $100 each, so that's $200 plus $350. So it cost me $550 to get the key working in the car. Where my '76 Trans Am in the garage, if the key fails, I go to Home Depot and make a key for $2.15. Go out to the parking lot and the car starts. That's what we're getting with technology these days. It's a little bit too much technology in our lives. I really think that. However, my wife likes her car because it's got that collision detection device. It's got the, what do they call it? Cruise control. I forget what it is. But if you set it on cruise control and then the guy in front of you slows down below the cruise control that you set it at, her car will slow down to match the speed he's going. It's got also lane departure, so if you hit the white line in the lane without using the turn signal, it'll navigate you back on course so you're not on the white line. So all these technologies are good to a degree, but I'll tell you what, they are really total pain in the asses. In fact, your cell phone, when you want to go make a call and you're trying to press sometimes there's a little bit of a delay where you're picking up your phone and you want to start pressing digits. You got to press the app for the phone, because you got apps here for camera, eBay, Skype, clock, calendar, notes. You got to press the phone one. You got to wait for it to pop. Then you got to press, because sometimes it can be set up to be in recent or contacts. Then you got to press the keyboard one at the bottom. Then you can start dialing. If you ever want to take a picture with your cell phone, the camera's a delay. Whereas if you just had a regular camera, you pull it out, you take a picture real quickly. And by the time that image is now not available for you to take a picture of, when you get your cell phone, you can't take a picture anymore because the image is gone, so you can't take the picture. What a pain in the ass technology is these days. So right now I'm on YouTube. You guys are listening to me. You can't see me because YouTube threw me an error. It says an error occurred. And by the way, if I hit end stream to end this and start up another stream, the link will be different. I cannot create the show based upon the link that I gave you guys. So then everyone disappears, wondering where I went, because I had to hit end stream to start up a new stream and hope that the stream will work with the video and the audio. But then I'll lose everybody. So here I am looking at the screen. It says an error occurred. Please try again later. But if I try again later, I missed the uniqueness of the show I'm doing right now. This is playback ID WS_5HYM hymn. So it's a Christmas hymn. WS_5HYMJMM_D0YID. What a pain in the ass. I could press learn more. Maybe I'll press learn more and see what it says. Or I won't. Screw them. I won't do that. So what do you think of this week's show? I had a little graphic up here. It says Chucky Baby, which was because I did a show that was actually Ren and Terri won 3 CDs each because they were able to identify Chucky Baby being the Gong Show. And then what was the other thing I did? A theme song from, I forget, what was the other question? I don't remember, but it was a fun show. So what did we do this week? We did a show on Tuesday with Christine Hart, author, medium, broadcaster. She was tremendous. She actually told us more than I thought she was going to tell us. She got into abductions and stuff like that. She was a great guest. I think most people enjoyed her, liked her, and it was a fun thing. We did that on Tuesday. On Wednesday morning, we had some fun. Ren and Terri won the CDs. We have a call here, I think. I'll tell you what, who this is probably a telemarketer or something. Let's pull in my telemarketer. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello, am I speaking with David?
Yeah, this is David. Yeah, hi, how are you? What's going on?
I'm wonderful, David, and I am the Devyanshi and I'm from Asia Solution. So, actually, a profile was in consideration of a recruitment cell in the past, and as of now, we were helping some of our candidates to enhance their profile by sponsoring them examination fees on professional IT certification. And wanted to check with you, David, if you are interested in any of the IT certification, such as Scrum, Agile, Six Sigma, Project Management, or any of the others.
You know, Scrum, they should change the name of that. It's an ugly word for technology, isn't it? Scrum. It sounds like you're cleaning the kitchen sink, doesn't it? They should change the name of that. You don't get my sense of humor, right? You don't understand my sense of humor. Right?
I do get you.
Oh, okay.
Are you interested in Scrum, David?
No, I'm not. I'm interested in getting rid of scum in my sink, but I'm not interested in Scrum. Thanks for the telemarketing phone call, though, which I get about 10 a day. So every one I get, I try to be humorous and see if you guys actually laugh. So you don't. You got to have more of a sense of humor when you call people. Okay? I'm not interested though, but thanks. You got to have a sense of humor when you call me, or at least understand my sense of humor. Scrum, by the way, is something that IT people use when they're in project management like I am. And by the way, the good thing, I have some good news. 2 people that I have working in my company, at the end of the year, their jobs had been liquidated because where they're set at from me sending them, the end of the year, they don't have it, the place that they're at does not have any further work for them beginning in January. But the good news is 2 days ago, I got them on a brand new contract. And the even better news is, instead of being an 8-hour workday, it's a 7-hour workday, but I can pay the guys enough to cover their 8-hour workday because the client is willing to pay more. So the good news is I got the 2 guys that I would have had to lay off for a certain amount of time or put them on what's called the bench because I rent people out for projects that I find them on. I got them engaged at the first week in January, so they don't have any downtime at all. They have 1 less hour work day. They have a 7-hour work day instead of an 8-hour work day, and they're going to get paid the same amount of money. So good news for those guys. Happy New Year's to my employees, my 2 employees that would have had to look for other gigs. So that's good news. So good to see John, good to see Terry, good to see Richard. You can't see me. Good to see Brig. Did I say I said hello to John already? Good to see Ren, Terry, Ren again. Good to see all you guys joining the show without seeing me. It's good to hear my voice without seeing the ugly face that Dave Darren's got on the top of his head above his neck, right? So let's say I was talking about the shows, and I want you guys to critique the shows. So for instance, did you guys enjoy the conversation from the UK with Christine Hart? She's an author, medium, broadcaster. I had no idea we were going to start talking about paranormal. I thought she was going to call me up and tell me about, because the way I met her is we were talking about how hard it is to be a broadcaster for me and how hard it is for her to be an author. And we were talking about it online. And then all of a sudden, just completely out of the woodwork, she starts talking about abductions and that she was abducted. It was an interesting show. Did you guys enjoy it? Did you like it? Terry says 100%. I guess she liked it. We are the few who get you, Dave. That's what Briggs says. So that was cool. So I think everyone liked that show. Let's drop down to the next show. The next show was the fun show. I think people liked that because they won gifts and prizes. It was like the Gong Show. We had Ren and we had Terry win 3 CDs, which I didn't get out. I'm going to send them out to you guys on Monday. And I'll pick it from, I think both of you guys like rock, so I'm going to send you a collection of rock artists that have been on the Dave Darren Music Show. So that was a fun show, right? Wednesday morning, we're lightening it up. It's hump day, right? Wednesday night, though, what happened is I think Tuesday night I heard this guy, Dusty. And he's a musician, shockingly enough. Usually musicians are a little bit more mellow than that. He's a metal musician, so a metalhead. So he's got some, metal is a grunting type of, and the guy's in that type of band, but he's a musician. Usually musicians I can get along with. This guy said that if you guys remember, I'm not going to go through the whole story, but remember Dusty's daughter, who works in a buffet. There was a guy or guys, I'm not sure, at the buffet that didn't get their drinks, and they raised their voices to his daughter. We didn't get the whole story from this Dusty guy, and I wish we did. And I asked him like 3 times for the whole story, but his daughter of 17 years old came home, and she was crying all day, according to Dusty. Now, I do find it unusual, and Terry brought this up too, that for someone that's 17 years old to come home crying all day long, what's that, an 8-hour day, a 10-hour day, a 12-hour day, crying all day long about someone that raised their voice to her. Now, supposedly, I had someone from Louisiana, because all these folks are from Louisiana, and they said when they use the word raised, that means yelled or screamed. So it's a louder thing than just raising your voice. So I didn't understand that. If you're going to say yelled or screamed, why not say yelled or screamed? Don't use the word raise your voice, because raise your voice is much less decibel than yelling and screaming is. So supposedly this guy yelled at his daughter. His daughter cried for what, 8 to 12 hours, a full day? And then Dusty's out there saying, Dusty got on the show because he called up, which was a shock to me that he actually called up and talked to me on the air in a hostile voice. It's funny. He was upset that someone yelled at his daughter, yet he calls up my show and starts immediately yelling at me, right? I should have cried all day. I should have my wife call him up and say, Dave cried all day because you yelled at him. I should do that, right? The guy blocked me, by the way, so I can't see his post anymore. He went ahead and blocked me, maybe because he's in some trouble and he doesn't want me to go on and on and on to get him in further trouble. And the trouble he got in, I guess, is the next day his boss messaged me on Facebook. On Facebook, and he said, I listened to the show with Dusty on it. He's my employee. He's got some anger management issues. And I said, well, I hope I didn't get the guy in trouble to lose his job. I said, because I just dealt with him on one subject. He may be a great guy, but on this one, he was way over the top and ridiculous. I said, but I hope I didn't get him to lose his job. And supposedly he didn't lose his job because the guy did talk to him in the morning and said, you better get some anger management help. So could be that I diffused the situation, because what happened is, if you recall, Dusty said that if he was there, he would have punched his teeth out, he said. And he would have hit him hard enough so he'd be laying on the ground begging for his maker to go meet his maker. So it was unusual. Another call. Another telemarketing call, I bet. Let's see. Hello?
Hi, Dave.
Oh, yeah. How's it going, Terry?
Oh, that's going really well. The show is still on, right?
Yeah, I'm still on. Yeah, you can't see my video because YouTube. Yeah, YouTube.
There was something very funny about that man, the one from Louisiana that called about his 17-year-old daughter.
Right.
What 17-year-old girl wouldn't have taken a drink and thrown it at the fucking guy's face? That's what I would have done when I was 17. I wouldn't have went crying to my father.
Yeah, well,
I really wouldn't. I couldn't do it, Dave. I just couldn't do it. I took care of my own problems at 17.
Yeah.
Most kids do.
Well, today's society has changed a lot, right? From a couple perspectives.
That technology shit is driving me crazy, Dave. People don't communicate anymore. Everything is over the internet and everything. They don't communicate.
Yeah, well, you're right, because I went, actually, one time it was about 4 months ago.
I'm okay, honey. My niece said you upset.
What?
No, I'm okay, baby.
You're okay? Okay, don't have a heart attack on the Dave Darren Show, okay? It's not good for ratings. But
exactly, right. I got a good heart, Dave, I'm telling you.
Right.
But that upset me. It upset me that a 17-year-old girl would cry for even 15 minutes for her father. It doesn't make sense to me. But you know something, Dave? You're right. Technology doesn't make sense to me either.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not them. It's probably me. You made a good point, and I get it. It's the technology. People do not communicate today.
Right. Well, for instance, like
I wrote a book.
You wrote a book, okay.
A child has got to eat a spoonful of dirt to be a normal child.
A spoonful of, not a spoonful of sugar, a spoonful of dirt, right?
No, a spoonful of dirt. That's what we had probably a spoonful of dirt growing up, Dave. We went out and played.
Yep.
You know, you did made my nieces and nephews squirrel also. I'm nothing in this house.
Yeah.
Don't interrupt me now, honey.
Yeah. Well, you know.
I just want to say yes. You. My point, I think, is valid, but you kind of offset my point by making me see that technology has gotten in the way.
Well, it's not only that; it's the overall personality. It seems like everyone now is offended, right? And you're proud to be offended, right? So a daughter in the work that she's in now, a long time ago, you're right. Probably someone would have thrown a drink at that guy's face, but now
I would have said, "How yours?" and right in the face, he would have gone. Don't tell the boss. I would have said.
Yeah,
leave me alone.
Yeah. However, today, if you throw a drink in someone's face, now I don't know if a 17-year-old person would be sharp enough to realize that, but you throw a drink in someone's face, you know what the first thing is going to be said is, "Oh, the drink got in my eyes. I now can't see." So he'd sue the owner of the place, potentially.
Well, I was overstating, Dave. I really was overstating.
Yes.
I don't think I'd ever throw a drink at anybody. But I tell them to go fuck themselves with no problem. Or to leave me alone and speak to the manager, please, if you have a problem. She's not old enough to be serving drinks, if they're drinks. Anyway, she's only 17.
Right. By the way,
so it would have to be a Coke or something, correct?
Right. By the way, Richard says, "Stop interrupting Terry. Let Terry speak."
Okay. Richard and I are in love.
Oh, okay. Richard.
No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah.
I'm only kidding. He's a little boy. These are all little kids. They joke with me. I joke with them. But no, Dave. I think you're a technical guy, right?
Technically.
I was a technical guy. It takes me 20 minutes to write, "Hi, Dave. The cat is on the thing and everything's driving me crazy, and I don't want to hurt her feelings. She's a very sensitive little girl." So it takes me about 20 minutes to write a sentence. These kids can write a book in the time it takes me to write a paragraph. You know, so technology has surpassed me. And I don't care. I don't care.
Yep.
Got a beautiful computer, and if I found somebody who really needed one, I'd give it to them.
Yep.
It means absolutely nothing to me.
Let me read a couple sentences here. John says, Terry brings up a good point about the guy's daughter. That's why I asked if she had special needs. Now I didn't get to that because the guy wasn't raised enough. And then what am I? Yeah. So
that would have sent him over.
Yeah. I think if I would have asked him, if I would have said, "Oh, your 17-year-old daughter, does she have special needs?" the guy would have blown up more, and he would have never had a conversation with me. So that's why I didn't ask him that question, John, because I thought it would have thrown him over the edge. Now, Bernadette here says, fathers are very protective of their children, especially daughters. Now, that may be true.
That is true, but not a 17-year-old Bernadette, please. Jesus Christ, she sounded like she was whining for an hour. Maybe longer.
Well, we never got to talk to the daughter, so we're not really sure if it was exaggerated. We don't know if she cried for 15 minutes, an hour, and the guy's exaggerating, or if she cried for a 12-hour workday. We don't know, right?
You know, if my niece, she's 45 years old. If my niece came in my house and said, "Oh, Auntie, guess what happened? Some guy told me I have a fat ass." Now, my niece weighs about 100 pounds. Some guy told me I have a fat ass. I said, "Oh," and she's crying. I would say, which one said it? Because that's going on there. I think I would do that, Dave.
Right.
I think I might because I'm a little bitch, you know, and that guy was a little bitch, and his daughter's a little bitchy bitch. So I've never been a bitchy bitch, but I'm a bitch. You know, I'll fight with anybody. I don't care how big they are. It just doesn't matter to me. I don't care.
Yeah.
If I think I'm right, I'll fight with them. But you did an excellent job. I wanted to make that point, actually.
Oh,
you
thanks.
did an excellent job. You calmed them right down.
Huh.
You did. I mean, it took a minute, a long minute, but it was a learning thing. You can ask anybody online. I think we all learned a little something from it. That to diffuse the situation is what you did.
Well,
I think you taught him.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I mean, towards the end of the conversation, he mellowed out a lot. And it's funny because...
Exactly, that's what I mean, yeah.
It's funny that his boss was listening to the show. Did you read the thread? His boss was listening to the show. He didn't make any comments during the show, but the next morning, now, you really don't know if the guy's really his boss or he's just pulling my leg, but he said, I'm the guy's boss. I think he said supervisor. And he said, he said the next morning I called him in and I had a discussion with him about anger management.
Really?
Yeah, that's what he said. Now, like I said, I have no idea if the guy is really his supervisor or boss or just someone messing around with me.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You can't really tell. But then after that, now, by the way, Dusty has now blocked me, so I can no longer talk to him. And I had, after that interview was finished, 2 of his relatives contacted me on Messenger. One of them said that he does have an anger management issue and that he could become potentially violent as well. So she said that he is a type of guy that can go off. And, the whole thing is, at the end of that conversation, if you remember, I said, he told me, he says, if it takes him 9 years to find this person and the guy's in the wheelchair, he'll push him down the stairs in the wheelchair.
Yes, I heard that too. Can you imagine?
Yeah. So he's... Yeah, definitely out of control guy. And he did say he's going to have his daughter. See, now this is the stuff maybe Bernadette didn't hear. So if Bernadette didn't hear the show, the guy said that his daughter someone raised his voice at his daughter. His daughter evidently cried all day, according to the Dusty.
Yes. Oh my God! What a little pissy bitch! I get her.
Yeah, and
I said, go in your room and cry.
Yeah, and then to
complete
the rest of the story for Bernadette, who may not have heard, what happened is Dusty got on and he said if he was in that restaurant when this happened, he would have punched the guy's teeth out, laid him on the ground to the point that the guy would have begged to meet his maker because he'd be in so much pain. And then it got even worse because then the guy said, Dusty's his name, he said, I gave instructions to my daughter that if she ever sees him again at the restaurant, evidently he's sort of a frequent flyer at this restaurant. When she sees him again, she's instructed to call up the father so he can come to the restaurant, have a confrontation with him. And the confrontation would be, if the guy did not apologize, he would then proceed with punching his teeth out. Then it even got worse. He said that he's going to find the guy eventually and have this confrontation and no apology. He's going to knock his teeth out. And then he said if it takes 9 years, he's going to find the guy and punch his teeth out. Now, maybe after 10 years, it's all safe. I don't know, but it was pretty extreme. This guy was pretty, and he did not change his story throughout the program, even at the end of it. He did not change his story. It was still sticking with it.
Let me ask you something, Dave. Do you think the ones that yell the loudest are the ones that would really not do that, would back down and say, listen, I know you had a little bad words with my daughter. Just apologize to her, hurt her feelings. Do you think he's that type of man? Or, because sometimes the people that yell the loudest are the ones that really, in real life, they're not so loud. They can look at things. I don't think this guy did. I think this guy has an incestuous relationship with his daughter. I've said it. Period. It might not be sex, Dave, but he would like it to be. My daughter was on for his daughter.
Huh.
And she calls him Daddy. How old is that girl? 40 years old anyway. Daddy. Yeah, my father. I would bitch slap her. I couldn't stand that. And it's kind of like an incestuous relationship. Sitting on his lap, the way he looks at her. It's my father. I've never felt uncomfortable in my house. Me and my sister walked around in our bra and underwear. My brother walked around in his underwear. My pussy her bra and underwear, and Dad was in his underwear. And we were all getting ready for the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was nothing was hidden, except for, the body parts. But if my father ever approached me and started looking at me or something, like the way Donald Trump looks at his daughter, I'd be a nervous wreck, Dave. I'd be a nervous wreck, and I would say, Mom, there's something wrong with Dad. I don't feel comfortable with him anymore. I'm not gonna wear my bra and underwear anymore. I'm gonna be dressed when I come out of my bedroom.
So you're not comfortable with the way Donald Trump looks at his daughter. How about Joe Biden filling up all the daughters in the entire state? He's even worse, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think all guys suck, Dave. I think they're all pigs.
How about me?
No, you're not. You
really?
You speak so beautifully of your wife.
Wow. So I've camouflaged my real personality quite well.
Because she kicked your ass in.
Yeah, she would. Yeah.
She kicked your ass in, Dave. Dog, kitty. But you do. You don't speak that way about your wife. The boys and the men on here do not speak that way about the girls on here.
Right. Well,
I think we all respect each other, but there's something funny about some of the relationships. You're right. Joe Biden, Donald Trump. Look at all the men that Morgan Freeman, Kevin Spacey, that Weissman, was that his name? Some movie guy.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, who would think that, David? I would never think these things.
Yeah.
But I work with incestuous parents and children who fall in love with their mother or father on the tree. That's a good one.
Yeah. The only thing I had when I was a kid is I got spanked when I was a kid. Like my mother spanked me, and I remember one time her finger slipped in my butt. I remember that. I do remember that.
One time we were going to go on a family picnic.
Right.
And my mother said, Terry, you better bring a sweater because it may get chilly.
Ah.
And I said to my sister, oh, fuck her. And my father came in the room, and he smacked me in the face.
Ooh.
Not hard, but my parents never laid a finger on us. We never gave them a reason to. But I have a mouth on me, Dave, and I've had it. My babysitter taught me how to say this when I was 3. She said, get the fuck in the room, you kid. And I just picked things up quickly.
Wow.
So my father smacked me in the face when I said, oh, fuck Mara, I had to forget the sweater. Yeah, I said that to my sister. And my father overheard me, and he came in, he said, look at me. And I looked at him, he smacked me. And when he did, I jumped up on the bed, and I jumped into his arms. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I was only about 8. I was terrified. My father never. They didn't even raise their voice to us.
Huh.
They didn't have to.
Yeah.
We were a happy family.
Yeah.
And all walking around in our underwear, bras and underwear. It was happy in the morning. And I don't know, my brother would go in the bathroom. My poor mother said, I've never been to the bathroom myself since I've had you kids. Because we would just go in and start talking to her.
Huh.
The poor woman, and that's the kind of household I grew up in. And I know it's different today.
Oh, Brig,
I think
Brig just asked. She said, "Did Terry say her father spanked her in the face, slapped her in the face, right?"
Smacked me right in the face, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I said, fuck my Alberta.
So now Brig is saying, "Poor Terry." Now you thought the smack in the face was.
No. I deserved it.
You deserved it. Okay.
You didn't. Yeah, my mother told me to get a sweater because it may be breezy out. I said, oh, fuck her, to my older sister. And my dad overheard it, and he yelled my mother. You don't say fuck you to your mother. And that's what he said, and he hit me.
Yeah. By the
He
way,
didn't hit me hard.
By the way, Bernadette says, "What's the number?" So I put the phone number because usually I do video of this show and I have the phone number up on the screen. But
That's your number?
yeah, my number is 480-236-2111. Maybe she wants to call in. Bernadette's the one that maybe didn't understand the whole story about Dusty and his daughter and all that. So maybe she's going to call up to make a comment.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I'll hang up and I'll just listen now. I just wanted to say to you that you did a great job the other night. And last night, that lady, I think she's kind of like an introvert. I'm not sure she's used to, well, being on the...
Yeah. Oh, wait,
I know. I get very nervous.
okay. We may have Bernadette on. Did Bernadette? Is that you that
Okay,
just called?
good. I'm going to hang up then.
No, you can stay on, and maybe Bernadette's going to ask you a question instead of me. So Bernadette.
Okay.
So is this
Can you
Bernadette?
hear?
Yeah, is this
I
Bernadette?
can hear you, Bernadette.
Okay. The man, he was a little he was overexcited or whatever. He was mad, but I see his point. Guys, men stick up for their daughters, and it's just a parent instinct. I mean, any parent would do that, I
Did
think.
you hear the show, Bernadette?
I did listen to it. Well, yes,
And you
I
didn't
heard.
see anything wrong with the way he was speaking?
Well, he was hyper. All right, he needs anger management. And I have boys, so I can't say, but I know guys with their daughters, if you say one thing to them, they get all, they'll want to beat you up, and you don't touch my daughter.
Yeah.
You don't say nothing. I mean, he was like that. I understand that. He does have anger management. He could have been a little nicer about it. Don't
Well,
touch
for
my
this,
daughter.
he finds somebody in a wheelchair that he thinks is the person because he's got to beat the shit out of them. Do you over that?
No, but he needs anger management. I agree with that. But
He needs somebody to kick his fucking mother ass in, is what he needs. He needs a good ass kicking, or for a woman to go up and slap him in the face and say, fuck you. Your daughter can protect herself. She's 17 years old. If she can't, put her in a class that'll teach her how to protect herself.
I know. That's how fathers are. I mean, they really, they can get very...
Well, aunts are like that, too. Aunts want 17-year-old girls to be able to protect themselves. Fuck 17, 14. 14-year-old girls nowadays better be able to protect themselves.
Well,
Especially on the internet.
Considering the way her father is, she should have had a little more, if she was brought up that
like
way.
going for her, right?
No.
yeah,
But it all goes back to where parents stick up for their kids. They don't want anybody to touch their baby or whatever, regardless what age they are.
Oh,
That's what a lot of people do. Not to say I would do it.
No, I agree with you. A lot of people do that. They talk about helicopter parents. These kids don't have time to go pee themselves. The mother's in the bathroom dressing them for another sport or for another event while they're trying to pee. Kids have got to be kids. Period. If you don't allow a child to go out and get hit in the head with a baseball, or remember, Dave, do you remember stickball?
Yeah, I used to play it in Philadelphia all the time.
Yeah, I used to play it too. And run the bases, things like that. Kids don't do that anymore.
All right, let me
Everything is organized.
let me ask Bernadette a couple questions here because I'm curious about
go
this.
ahead.
Okay, now suppose the father was in the restaurant with the daughter and he was not. And suppose the guy or the father heard the guy raising his voice, and supposedly raise the voice in Louisiana means yell at a loud volume instead of just a raised voice as a yell. Suppose the father went over and physically did punch the guy in the teeth. What do you think the reaction of the daughter would have been? Do you think she would have been proud of her father, or do you think she would have been shocked? Would have been a traumatic thing for that daughter to actually witness if he really has that anger management to the degree that he said repeatedly throughout the show he would literally punch him. Supposing he did, what do you think the effect of the daughter would have been? A good effect, bad effect, shocking effect? Would have dealt with it okay?
Well,
what do you think?
We don't know how she was raised. She may have said, okay, go ahead, Dad. Good for, I'm glad you hit him. Or it depends on her personality. She could have cried and said, Daddy, why'd you do that? You shouldn't have embarrassed me. We don't know.
Yeah.
But he sounded hyper. I don't know what kind of family life they all have,
Yeah, because another thing that was a little bit scary. Now, suppose, let me ask you this question. The father put instructions on the daughter that the guy who goes in there fairly often, I'm gathering from the conversation we had, he gave instructions to his daughter that as soon as she sees him, to call the father up and he will come there and have that confrontation with him. And if he does not apologize, he will literally commit to punching him in the teeth. Now, do you think the advice to the daughter should be, do not call your dad when this guy comes into the restaurant? Any comment?
I don't know. Well, I don't know what she'd say. Like I said, we don't know. We really don't know them.
Yeah.
She may call and say, come on, Daddy, he's down here. Come whoop his ass or whatever. Or she may not. But I don't know her personality. I don't know if she's a girl or we don't know. My point was the parents are like that. They get very defensive and they'll want to kick somebody's ass if you touch their daughter or son or anything. Animals do it in the wild. They protect their young. I don't know.
Not until they're 17.
Like we said, we don't know her personality. Maybe she's childlike.
Yeah.
Hell, I'm 50 and sometimes I can act like a kid. But you know what I mean. Her mentality may not be 17. We don't know. But the way her dad talks and acts, I don't know what kind of family life she's brought up.
She may never be 17 if he keeps that shit up.
Well, that's true, too.
Protecting her. She doesn't learn how to protect herself.
Yeah. Now, what was interesting is the thread that this guy Dusty posted on, and since he's a musician in Louisiana, I'm assuming that most of the people that were on that thread knew him from the band he plays in, so they were all pretty local to that area of Louisiana where he's from. Every single one of them was very defensive to the point that said if anyone... Now remember, I did ask the guy multiple times if she felt physically threatened, and he answered every time, no, she did not feel physically threatened. So it was the verbal abuse, which could be... Some people think verbal abuse is just as offensive as physical abuse. But
I do.
Okay, you do. Who was that? Terry said that? She does?
Yeah, I do think so, because verbal abuse can be private and it doesn't show. Physical abuse, at least you'll have a mark and somebody says, what happened to you?
Uh-huh. Okay,
So I've seen both, and they're both comparatively as bad as one is as bad as the other.
Okay,
think people don't see it that way unless they what they...
Okay, so that brings it to a little bit of indecision then, because if there's verbal abuse, which is equal to physical abuse in Terry's viewpoint, and if someone then did one or the other, physical abuse would mean if the guy in the restaurant punched his daughter or grabbed her aggressively, if the father was there, then obviously there's a right for him to physically put strength upon that guy to pull him away from his daughter. So it's going to escalate quickly at that point. But I thought that verbal abuse would be, in that restaurant, I would think it would be of a limited amount of verbal abuse there. How long would the guy talk to her? He's not going to talk to her for an hour and continually abuse her. But then he's been in the restaurant a lot. Maybe every time he's in the restaurant, maybe he verbally is rude to her and abusive to her. I don't know
Maybe she did something wrong.
It could be too.
I don't know.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to get more of the story, but he wasn't willing to share any more of the story. I wanted to know that too. I wanted to know and I even said, maybe the girl, because initially I thought that they both were just in the buffet. And I was wondering if the girl had cut in front of him in the buffet line, and then the guy said, excuse me, you realize you cut in front of me. And then maybe the girl would have looked behind him and said, screw you, old man, or something like that. But evidently the girl works at the restaurant. So I was wrong on that one.
You know what me too is that David was the voice of reason. You truly were right from the beginning. But he was yelling at you like you were a little pussy.
But
and David, you're no pussy. When I used the way you're talking. It's not beneath, well, it was beneath you.
You also
And
have
now
to
you're
realize,
normal.
you have to realize that, well, the guy, he sounded much younger than us or Dave or whatever. He's not as mature as we are, I would think. And now at my age, I'm not going to get into some brawl unless my life depended on it. But I'm older. If I was younger, yeah, I'd probably get hyper or whatever, when you're younger. But he didn't sound very old.
Right, I
No,
think.
he didn't sound old. But Dave doesn't sound old.
Yeah,
And that's what you want.
well, I was able to look at his picture, and he looks like he's about 35 years old, I'm guessing, and he's a metal.
Yeah, there you go. You're Bernadette. You hit it right on the head.
So
But he's still young. He's still in the fighting mood, and he wants to whip somebody's ass for hollering at his daughter.
Yeah,
And when he turns
walk
50, 60, it'll change. I would hope.
Yeah.
I would assume.
yeah, you would think so.
Yeah.
Now, after that took place, by the way, when it was over, I did have two of his relatives comment to me and got on Messenger, and one of his relatives, was female. She was really mellow, but she did say that the guy has a violent streak to him, so he could be dangerous. I had another relative of his call me up, and his other relative said that he wished he knew where I lived because he wanted to come over there and punch my teeth out. So, and then I had the other problem is everyone, like I said, everyone that was on his thread all agreed that you talk to my daughter that way. You talk to my daughter that way. They didn't say you physically touch my daughter. They all said if you talk to my daughter in a rude way or a raised voice way, I am going to punch your teeth out. And one of them said that when we use the word, one of the guys got on there and he says, when we use the word raised voice does not mean raised voice. It means a yell or a scream. And he went on and he said, but when we say we're going to punch you in the teeth, we really mean that we are going to punch you in the teeth. So it would seem like that all his friends were agreeable that, okay, you say that to my daughter and we are going to sock your teeth in. So it was, yeah. So, and then, I even told the guy, I said, I think I said this offline. I don't think I said this during the phone call, and I missed saying it because I wanted to say it. I said, one of the three things that will happen if you have a confrontation with that guy is you'll catch him off guard. You'll ask him to apologize. He won't apologize, and then you will punch him in the teeth. And then you'll have legal battle. You'll probably be called in.
Exactly, that's what you said, yeah.
Or another thing that'll happen is the guy knows that you're coming there, and he knows when he goes there that you're going to come. He's going to come prepared to meet you. And that means he's going to potentially come to either have a physical fight with you with fist, or worse, he's going to come armed. And you potentially may come in there armed, and then the whole restaurant better leave because it's going to be the Wild West with two people having a shootout. So that's
how things happen, too, Dave.
Yeah. So
that's how they start, too crazy.
Yeah, but to maybe he mellowed out after all that. Who knows? Now he blocked me, so I can't. Yeah, who knows? I don't know.
But he blocked you. I don't understand why he would block the voice of reason. Somebody who literally calmed him down for a mild roar.
Well, it could.
I mean, he was hitting sky high. He was going higher than my voice. He was outraged.
Yeah. Well, it
but
could.
You calmed him down, Dave.
Well, I don't know.
I loved it.
I don't know if I calmed him down because, like I said, the next day I had no idea that his boss or supervisor was listening. And like I said, I'm not really sure if it really was his supervisor. But if his supervisor called him in and said, I caught your show on Dave calling him up and you need anger management. And I don't know if it, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know if that guy blew up on his boss. We don't know that. And then maybe his boss fired him.
Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, we don't know what took place after that. So maybe that's why he blocked me. Maybe he's going to try to figure out where I live and be over here. So if you don't see me next week.
David, don't even say that. Oh my God, don't say what city you live in.
Yeah, well.
Before I get off the line here, I'm going to get off. I just want to say I like your show.
Oh, thanks.
And I have a lot of paranormal and ghost stories that I'll call in when you have your shows, and I'll tell you a story every time you're on or whatever.
Well, that's really cool. I wish you would do that. And if you want to, you could be either a caller to call in like you did today, or you can be a guest because obviously I book guests off for a longer period of time than the callers. So if you want to, my email. I'll give it to you now. It's Dave Darin, Dave, DARIN @gmail.com. Or you can get me on Facebook. And it's davedarren@gmail.com. And if you want to be a guest for a longer time than just a call-in, then come on as a guest if you like, okay?
Yeah, that sounds good because my stories are true, but I got to write them all down and so that I remember them all to tell. And it would take an hour of your time. But,
Okay.
You know,
okay, yeah, do
if
that.
you're interested, if not, that's okay. I still listen.
No, I'm interested.
Oh, no, I'm interested.
Yeah, Kerry's interested. I'm interested. Richard's interested. Richard's actually interested in seeing someone push down the steps in a wheelchair. So,
Oh, those kids.
yeah.
Hey, it
Okay.
was good talking to you too.
Hey, good talking to you too. Have a
Nice
great
talking
night.
to you, Bernadette.
All right, Dave.
And
Okay.
David, it was nice talking to you also.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to let you guys
Okay.
both go. Okay, cool. Thanks for calling, ladies.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that's all we got today for the Dave Darren Show. Well, I was talking about the shows, right? So we had, I will keep going on here, sort of briefly. I want to get out of here because my time's running out. My break from work's running out in 8 minutes. But so we talked about Dusty on Wednesday. After that, we had Dusty's, someone called up from the UK. We had Omar calling up talking about the broadcast about Dusty. Now, I'm not going to go on that because we just went through it again today. Last night, we had on Kathleen Kessel. Last night it was a short and 30-minute show. I got some critiques on that show where I should not have cut it short. And some people said I was kind of rude to Kathleen by doing a short 30 minutes. And the only reason I did that is because I booked the show. I didn't want to cancel the show. I didn't want to do a rerun. I don't like doing reruns. And I decided, okay, I'll give her 30 minutes. And maybe we'll do a part 2 with her if we need extra time. So I did 30 minutes. I get out to a little stuff I did for yesterday, like sort of a Christmas karaoke thing, meeting someone else from New Jersey who actually owns a DeLorean. So I took off last night after a 30-minute conversation with Kathleen. Some people thought that I was not nice because I didn't offer her an opportunity to get questions from the callers. Like today we had Bernadette calling and Terry. So no one was able to talk to Kathleen. And I was kind of brief with her, so that's the way yesterday's show went. So I guess in the future, if I ever have to cut a show short, I will not cut a show short. I'll just do a rerun of a previous 1-hour show, or I will just cancel that show and just do the show the week after, if anything comes up like that again. And what else did we get? We got some critiques here from this guy, Tony Marino, if you remember Tony. And he decided to say, I got flack about your lack of knowledge about UFOs. He got flack, I guess, on his email or whatever. I don't think he got flack for that. But he said, I got flack about your meaning me, my lack of knowledge about UFOs and the questions the audience was asking. So he blames me and he blames the audience. So I said to him, I even said, I've never heard anyone say that they were dissatisfied by my lack of knowledge of the show. How did I word it? I worded it a certain way to try to get a response from the guy. Let's see. Then he went on and he said he was belittled because he actually spent time with me, a guy that lacks information about UFOs. He said he felt belittled to be on a show where a host is not knowledgeable about UFOs in front of such a small audience. So he really went and butchered myself for not being knowledgeable and for the audience for not asking him what he deems to be good questions about UFOs. And I came back to him and I messaged him back. And I said, I've never heard anyone say that they were belittled by being in front of such a small audience. And then I said, based upon the questions, I said, you know what? I got comments from the people listening to the show that the questions that were asked to Tony, not a single question was answered. So I said, maybe you didn't get a whole lot of questions because you didn't answer a single question. So why would you get more questions when you didn't answer the initial questions asked of you? So the critique that he gave was a little bit shocking. And I even went on. I said, I expected more from you because you told us that you spent 49 years of collecting UFO data. And it seemed like the answers that you gave to the questions asked did not illustrate your 49 years worth of experience. I said, you could have Googled the answers to some of these questions during the show and gotten the answers. So I said, we didn't get any learning material from someone who spent 49 years in UFO understanding. So I said, your critique of the small audience, I said, if you're on such a massive ego where you don't want to be on a show with such a small audience, then you got an ego that maybe should not be part of the Dave Darren Show. Until I build up a larger audience, maybe withhold being on shows like this because of your massive ego. And then when you want to come on the show that has more listeners, which the show, hopefully our show will build, I'll tell you what, I didn't tell them this, but I think I will. When I get that 100,000 viewers to the Dave Darren Show, and then you want to come on, you know what? I'll say I didn't find your experience of 49 years to be authentic, so you know what? We won't have you on the show anymore. So, what a guy. I'll tell you, what a guy. What an experience. But then, it's fun to have different, and then, I did tell him as well, you know, when I do this show, I know some people have critiqued my UFO knowledge or my understanding the guests that I have on the show and the fact that I do not fully vent who they are before I have them on the show. The reason I do that is because when I have a guest come on, if I ask them a whole lot of questions before the show goes live, I've already taken the excitement level that I get from enjoying the initial communication with that guest. I kind of like that adrenaline rush that you guys get when you hear the guest. I like to enjoy the same adrenaline rush and the enjoyment of actually getting the first time understanding of who he is, rather than do it in a rehearsed mode. If I went through and I asked the guy 10 questions I'm going to ask him during the show, and then he gives me the answers already, it's kind of less exciting than if I learn about the guy dynamically the same time you learn about him. That's exactly why I don't do that. Now, do I take a risk in doing it that way? I don't know who the guest is going to be thoroughly, so I have that risk. But it's a risk that I take by doing it in this way. If I ever decide to change it, then maybe I will for the betterment of the show. But that's all I got for today, guys. I'm going to get out of here. You haven't seen my face today. Good thing. I'm looking ridiculously ugly today compared to most days. So I'm going to get out of here. I'm not going to play the closing theme because there's no video today. So I'm just going to get out of here. Thank you guys for joining. Have a great weekend. It's Friday. Get out, enjoy some happy hour, enjoy the weekend. And I'll see you guys sometime soon. At least I'll see you on Tuesday. I think we have a Tuesday show coming up with a special guest on Tuesday. I think I have someone coming on. I'll announce it later on, but definitely we have a Thursday show coming up as well. So I'll see you guys next week. That's all I got for now. See you guys later.